Hi, everyone. Welcome to our conversation. It's good to have you be along with us. And I have a chance for us to interview the infamous, the famous Ryan Rouse.
That's me.
Ryan,
Hey.
it's your turn.
Yes, it is.
We've been waiting for this.
Yeah.
We went through the whole office. Everybody had their chance. And you were kind of like pushing all of us to get it done.
It does seem that way.
So it's Ryan's turn now. Aren't
my
you
turn.
guys excited? We get to dig in deep.
Oh, wow.
Find
I wasn't
out,
nervous, but now.
Find out about all your little past sins.
This is confessional? Wow.
It's great to have you, man.
Thanks, man.
We love having you on staff. You keep our life light and happy and a lot of things like that. So we love having you on staff. I know there's a ton of people out there that just have really enjoyed getting to know you and having you be a part of our mission. I'm just kind of curious about, tell us something about your childhood.
All right. Well, I grew up here in Winter Garden.
Yep.
So
you're a homeboy.
it's a little bit unique because everybody in Winter Garden is not from Winter Garden. Like, there's very few of us.
That's a very true statement.
Like, I went to West Orange, and I was born at a hospital that no longer exists, but it was in Winter Garden, and so I haven't always lived here. Like, as an adult, I moved away for a little bit, but Winter Garden it sucks you back in, and but I love Winter Garden. I love having memories on different streets and churches and. Just different people. I had a chance to interview Earl. Who was my barber.
Right.
My very first haircut was downtown
cool.
Winter Garden,
Very cool.
just to be in a town that you grew up in and have the opportunity to live there is a really unique opportunity. So a little bit about my childhood.
That's really cool, man. I'm just thinking, you kind of made me have some memories of myself. Like when I was a kid growing up, you can almost like think about those street football games you ever had,
Oh, yeah.
And you know exactly the street you were on and what you were doing. And I remember we would split up in teams of 3.
Yeah.
Is that what you guys did?
Well, I actually grew up across the street from our football field.
Right.
And so all of my practices were like in the parking lot. Like, I was literally could see my house from there.
Wow.
And so again, unique childhood. So after practice, instead of parents picking up from the football field, like all of my friends would just come over to my house and they would get picked up from there. So I had a really unique just place where like kind of my house, my family was always welcoming to all my friends. And so it was always kind of this hub, Grand Central Station constantly, which I love, being hyperactive and needing people around all of the time. So it was great to kind of have that and to walk across the street to all my football and baseball, actually.
Really cool.
We're right across the street.
Were you like across the street from like West Orange High School?
No, Walker Field. Right there, like in the heart of downtown.
Downtown Winter Garden.
Yeah.
Wow, that's kind of cool. I'm just, so can relate so much to that because my parents were, pastors of the church, and so all the young people would come over. In our house, my mom would make dinner, and somebody was going to show up,
Of course.
that didn't belong to the family. They just
I love that.
got to walk through the door, And so
no privacy ever.
No, never. As a matter of fact, one church when I was a teenager, the parsonage was connected to the church.
Oh, wow. That's just a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, you never had any privacy. That's for sure. I was going to tell you, though, I remember this guy. He was a little larger than you are, and we were playing 3-man football out on the street, and I was the community block. I blocked for both teams.
Of course.
So that's about all I could do, is get in somebody's way. Well, he decided he was going to go over me. And so somehow or another, he got stuck halfway.
Makes for an awkward,
very awkward
pile of flesh and chair.
It wasn't pretty, man. I was looking straight at his belly button.
And you couldn't get him off, right?
No. We were stuck. It was kind of funny. So you grew up here in Winter Garden, and you gave your heart to Jesus when you were a young kid?
Yeah. I was actually, I went to a really small private school here in town, and I remember, I was super talkative, right? And so it was.
I would never believe that.
I know, and it was a very strict school gym, like to the point they had like these tally sheets on my desk, or on everybody's desk. I don't think it was just mine. Maybe it was, and if you get a certain amount of tallies in a week,
yep,
you go to the principal's office to get a spanking, like wooden, like paddle, the whole deal. And by like Tuesday, I had filled up my talking column. It was just like I almost felt like just on Monday, I was just gonna go ahead and like get it over with and be like, hey, everybody, like who are we kidding? Like this is gonna happen. And so, but it was at that school after a chapel service, and I remember the speaker saying if you wanted to give your heart to the Lord and what that meant and what sin meant, and I had heard the gospel, like I was raised in church, and but for whatever reason, like that, the Holy Spirit, I think is the reason, was just working on my heart that day. And he said, like, it wasn't like a come down the aisle. It was after chapel, if you want to talk about this more, go to the principal's office. And I was like, no, of all of the places I don't want to go, it's there. But I went, and I asked the teacher if I could go to the principal's office. She's like, are you sure you want to go? I was like, yeah. And it was the first time that I didn't get a spanking going to the principal's office.
Wow.
And I gave my heart to the Lord, and a couple days later, I probably got spanked in
the same room.
Same room.
Hilarious.
The Lord, when I got saved, He didn't shut my mouth.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, just because you get saved doesn't mean the sin stops.
Right. Well, I tend to think about it, like that was a really negative thing growing up, but the Lord used that. He made me a speaker and a communicator. And it's like, He knew what He was doing.
Absolutely.
Way back then.
He gave you gifts and talents way back then.
Yeah, and I
How about that?
Just needed to learn to control it a little bit better.
You went on to be a youth pastor.
Yeah.
And then you spent some time in Haiti.
Mm-hmm.
And so when did God really grab you to the point where He says, I want you to be invested in my kingdom?
Oh, wow. It was definitely in high school. Probably around junior year. I graduated early, so it was probably like 16 years old. And I just really began to feel like God was calling me into full-time ministry. And I didn't know necessarily what that looked like. All I knew at that point as a 16-year-old was youth ministry, and I loved youth ministry. So I was like, obviously I'm going to be a youth pastor. That's what you do. And but my youth pastor, Keith Yarbrough, he actually was like, you need to try different different ministries, and even in different locations, and just like see where God might have you. And so I tried different things. He gave me opportunities to lead like a middle school ministry. Me and my best friend Eric led that for over a year, and I didn't even know we had a middle school ministry. And he's like, "You're in charge," which, looking back, that was a pretty brave move on his part.
Very brave.
Put these middle school kids and my leadership was a weird thing, but it ended up working out, and that ministry grew, and me and Eric learned a lot. I learned a lot just about leadership and leading students, communicating.
Right.
And so way back in high school, and then right after I graduated high school, I was in college. I was in community college, and already had opportunities to step into leadership and vocational ministry while I was in community college. I was 19, and started working for a church, and was doing like school at the same time and trying to figure all of that out. And then God just kept opening up doors. I was like, I guess this is where I'm supposed to be. And obviously, as time went on, God kind of refined those skills and that calling in my life, where I started off kind of not very confident in that. But as time went on, as God kind of chiseled away some things, like that confidence really began to grow, and I could see like this is what God wants me to do.
I think confidence is so important.
Sure.
I think it's part of the abundance of life that Christ brings into your heart, is that as you experience more of his presence and the more of what he can do through you, your confidence builds. I think that's one of the things that God's given me, whenever I'm in front of a group of people or a crowd. Some people think I'm too confident, but I'm very comfortable there in front of people. So anyway, it's really a great thing to see God begin to shine through you like that.
So we were talking about confidence, and I think obviously confident in my skill set, but also I think maybe even my confidence grew when I would feel like I would blow a message or something.
Yeah.
And totally not say what I wanted to. Especially once Stacy was involved in that and we got married, she would come home and be like, that was one of your best lessons. And I felt like I just completely destroyed it.
Are you kidding? My nose is flat from
and
hip before.
I think, I saw how the Lord would use even what I viewed as a failure. And so my confidence then just became man, I'm just going to trust God.
Yeah.
And not just obviously just be careless through this thing, but really trust him to work through me. And that's when ministry got fun, because then it wasn't even about me and my abilities, but it's man, I just want to be a vessel for God to use.
Yeah.
And kind of get out of the way as much as possible.
That's great.
And then God does.
So it's kind of,
things.
you and I are kind of known for that in the office a little bit. We like to really just go gung ho at things. And
yeah, I think we stress everybody else
yeah,
out.
we do. No more vision.
We got enough on our table right now.
Yeah, right. That's funny. Tell me about how you and Stacy met.
Oh, goodness. So we met on a mission trip. I grew up, like I said, here in Winter Garden. She grew up in Plant City, which is only it's a little less than an hour away.
Right.
But we met in Israel on a mission trip, which totally makes sense, right?
Crazy.
Small town Plant City girl from, and then Ryan.
Meet underneath the olive tree or
right. Something. And I was super intimidated by Stacy when we met, mainly because of her confidence. She went on a mission trip by herself. There was nobody else from her church.
Wow.
And I was there with a group of friends. And I would have never traveled to anywhere, much less the other side of the world by myself. And the way she carried herself, and I was and I honestly, I thought there's no way, she's so far out of my league. I was and so I just kind of observed and on that trip, but she kind of got involved with my friend group because her church was so small. Yeah. She started driving to Winter Garden and hanging out with my friends, and one thing led to another. And it's maybe she's not,
Yeah.
maybe there is something
a chance for me to.
Yeah, and so I was super insecure in talking to her, but I worked up the nerve eventually. I think I maybe emailed her.
Wow.
I was hey, maybe I'm interested. But at that time we were super close, and our friendship was super close. So there's that awkward tension of what if it's not reciprocated?
Right.
Our friendship is done at that point.
Right.
But luckily that wasn't the case. That would have been horrible.
There is a God.
Yeah, and he works in mysterious ways, Jim.
It's hilarious.
And my marriage is a testimony of that.
So one of the things that I just love about you and Stacy and your lives is your kids. I love your kids, man.
They're pretty awesome,
They're
right?
awesome kids. And what an incredible story you guys have as kind of imaging and showing the world what acceptance is and what, how we're just brought into the family of God in that way through adoption and stuff. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so the first 9 years of our marriage, we struggled with infertility. And Stacy as a little girl, like her dream was to be a mom. Like that's what she wanted. And so obviously those first 9 years were extremely challenging for us and confusing. And it's like, man, God, like, like we want to be parents so bad. And especially like in youth ministry, especially when you're in it for a long period of time, like your kids get older.
Right.
And then you start seeing like your kids get married and then they have kids and we're still like, well, what about us, right? Like when do we get to be parents? And so that was really challenging for both of us, but specifically for Stacy. And I was kind of the hesitant one in adoption. And you know, like the reason, like I knew about adoption, but I always kind of thought like I guess foster to adopt was really the only model that I really knew.
Right.
And I know my heart, like I attach pretty quickly. And the idea of a child coming to my house and them being taken away, like I knew my heart couldn't take that.
Right.
And so I was like, I was so scared to even start the process. And then like after being educated in that, I was like, that's really not necessarily how every adoption or most adoptions go down. And so we started the process, and God did miracle after miracle.
That's awesome.
And to the point that we were able to do our adoption classes, which should have taken like 2 months. We did them in about 4 weeks. And so we started our adoption process. This is not normal. So if anybody's in the adoption scene, they will know. But also, I don't want to give false hope. We started our adoption in January, and in March, our daughter was born in our house. That was Piper. And so we adopted in reverse birth order. So our youngest,
cool. Your youngest,
youngest has been with us the longest because she was there at birth. And then Hayden is our middle child, and he came second. And then our oldest is our newest. So Islanda has been with us. She's lived with us since she was 9.
Yeah.
And that was when we lived in Haiti. Islanda is Haitian, and so we met Islanda in Haiti. And so when we moved to Haiti, she moved in with us. And when we moved back, she moved back with us, and she's been with us ever since. Almost, over half of her life now, she's lived with us, which is crazy to think about. Like that she was younger than Piper when she first began with us.
So I remember when we first started all of this, we were talking about different stories we wanted to have and the conversations we wanted to have with people, and I looked at you and I said, Ryan, we have to tell your story.
Yeah. We
have to have a conversation about your story and the disability community because you have no real connection to it.
Right. As a youth pastor, like we talked about confidence.
Yeah.
I'd been doing it for 20 years.
Yeah.
And so like I knew what I was getting into. Like there was very little surprises. Obviously, like when teenagers come, like every teenager is different. So you're learning kind of the different nuances. Right. But as far as programming is concerned, not a ton has changed, in the past 20 years that I've been doing it. Obviously, like you tweak things along the way, but nothing drastic. But I wanted to bring my students and find a disability ministry for them to plug into and volunteer. My students as a youth pastor. And we failed initially. Me and my secretary, Leslie, were kind of both looking. And we failed for the first summer that we were trying. And then like we're sitting in our office and we're still kind of looking around. And Johnny Neal, a mutual friend of ours, comes into our office. We shared an office, and he's all dressed up. And Johnny Neal is never dressed up. And I was like, where are you coming from? And why are you so dressed up? And he's like, I just came from across the street, like literally across the street, for Lift Disabilities breakfast. It's like, what in the world is Lift Disability? And he began telling me about you guys. And I was like, I got to learn more. And very quickly, we began to learn about each other, and you guys learn about the student ministry,
right?
And we came to camp in 2019.
Yep.
And I brought about 50 teenagers with me, and
awesome.
The Baptist kids did an amazing dance for
They
for
did.
you
I
guys.
couldn't believe it was. Here's this Baptist youth group, and they're actually doing a dance for us.
It blew a lot of people's minds.
Blew
but
my mind.
They knew how to party, right?
Yeah. Oh man.
And I just wanted to, honestly, like it was kind of selfish, my intentions. Like I wanted my teenagers to serve and to give of themselves. And that's what I was looking for the change that it would make in their life. And honestly, like we made an impact, and it was a positive one. And so I just wanted to find more ways that we can plug in.
Yeah.
So I began volunteering with you guys, and fast forward a year, COVID happened.
Smacked us in the face.
Yeah, and we were planning on coming back to camp in 2020, and I still wasn't in like a big leadership role at that point, but I was part of some of the planning, and then we had to make that hard decision to pull the plug on camp.
Yep.
But then somebody at one of our meetings said, "What about a virtual camp?" And I was in that meeting, and I was thinking, that is a bad idea. Like that does not sound fun at all.
Yeah, you can't have fun at camp.
Staring at a computer, I was like, "There's no way." So I kind of had a bad attitude about it.
Yeah.
And next thing I know, I'm in charge of the virtual camp, and I didn't even want to do it in the first place.
You were sitting there 12 hours a day behind those computers.
And we did it at Lakeside Church, and it was just our team, and and it was a great camp. It was really
incredible camp, really.
Amazing experience, and it really pushed our ministry.
It really did.
Into the living rooms of the people that we serve, which is a place that we had never been, because we had always done events at churches or obviously camp.
Yeah.
But now all of a sudden, like we've got a front row seat, and then really that's where relationships are most formed, right?
I agree.
Sitting around a table, on the couch, in the living room. And that's kind of where we ended up. And so after that camp, I started coming over every Monday for lunch. Remember?
Lunch with Lyft.
And we would do a 2-hour lunch Zoom call. And it was the weirdest thing again.
Look, this guy has the most incredible videos. I don't know where he must spend all night long on YouTube.
Yeah, I spend far too much time. And we would show dumb videos.
Yep.
And just talk and have fun with people, right? And because they're home, isolated at home.
We built a lot of relationship around that.
We really did.
The lunches.
And so, I mean, that went on for over a year. We every Monday we would do lunches, and then finally we were just like, we're not getting a whole lot done on Mondays, so we had to pull the plug on it. But even as a volunteer, I remember a conversation, and you're like, "Man, Ryan, like, what would it take to get you on our team?" And I said, "It might not be as hard as you think." And
I know.
God was already stirring in my heart.
And dating Stacy.
Yeah, it's like who knows? And so you asked the question, and we started having conversations. I remember me and Stacy came over to y'all's house.
Yeah.
And we were just like, realistically, is this even an option? Financially, can we do this? And I started off, I was bivocational to be able to work here. I was working out of school and here. And then God opened up the door and financially provided for Lyft.
It was amazing too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was an amazing year to watch God do that. We knew that we had to have a significant bump in our income for that to happen, and God just started.
We had no idea where it was going to come from,
and it just started pouring out, didn't it?
Yeah.
It was incredible to watch.
So my experience in disability community is confined to Lyft Disability. This is the only disability ministry I know. But I'm a relational guy, and Lyft is so relational. It was just such a perfect fit.
I've been trying to break you in.
And as a program, I'm the director of programming.
Yeah.
I'm doing a lot of the same things I did in youth ministry. I plan events that are designed to build relationships. Yeah. That's like the event is not what it's about. Even camp. Camp is not.
No, I agree.
The whole point of camp is to bring families together where we can focus on each other for an entire week instead of going home or waiting till next month. And so, as much effort as we put into camp, it's still all about relationships.
Yeah.
And that's what I fell in love with. I was like, this is what I want to do. Like, I want to be a part of that ministry. And make an impact on families that sometimes are struggling and just need some relief. They need to have fun. They need to laugh together. And we've been doing that for, I guess, a year now.
So we've been having a lot of fun over the last year, almost 14 months or so.
Yeah.
It's been great having you on the team. Where do you see for the future of Lyft?
Oh, there's so much, and you're a vision guy, and I'm a vision guy.
Yeah.
That core, that foundation of Lyft is relationships, right? And so looking for ways to strengthen our existing relationships, but also build new relationships.
Right.
I see, as far as like direction, man, like churches have been seeking us out instead of the other way around.
It's been really crazy.
Which has been so encouraging. And now our struggle isn't like, we need a church to go serve with. Like, how do we, like, we have so many opportunities. It's like, well, which church do we serve and in what capacity? And
because there's only so much.
There's 4 of us.
Yeah, right.
So there's literally, a day coming up where part of our team's going to be at one church and another part of our team's going to be at another church because the events are literally going on at the same time.
Yep.
And so I think that church connection is definitely a huge part of our future. We're super excited about not just maintaining relationships through events, but through like daily living. And we're trying to flesh that out. And I'm super excited about that because now it's not hey, we'll see you next week or next month or next year, but it's see you tomorrow.
That's really good.
And that's a big step for Lyft. That's a part that we haven't really been in.
Yeah.
And we're trying to figure out the logistics of that and how that works. And once again, we're in this, like, how do we pay for that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And the last time we had this, it was God said, that's
crazy.
The least of your problems, right?
Yeah.
Like, I've got that.
Yeah.
And so, it's all about relationships and deeper and longer lasting relationships.
That's so good. Man, we're just so happy to have you on our staff and our team.
I'm happy to be here.
And thanks for sharing your heart with us a little bit and your life and all that kind of stuff. I'd like to kind of wrap up our conversation with what if you could just help us or just talk to someone that is watching today, has a disability or something like that. Mm-hmm. What kind of encouragement could you bring to them?
This will sound a little bit like a broken record because probably half a dozen people that we've asked that question to have said, you need to find your tribe. And that is so important, not just in the disability community, but just in life.
Yeah.
Life, the Christian life especially, is not meant to be lived alone. And I think that principle is multiplied in the disability community because I think a natural reaction to a family working through a disability is isolation. Whether that be a mom with a disability, with a child with a disability, going to the grocery store and afraid of an outburst and getting the look in the grocery store, right? And so the natural result of that is, well, I can't go to the grocery store, or I'm going to go late at night, or I'm going to go, now you're limited on when you go to the grocery store. I need a babysitter. I need, all of these things. Yeah. It's not a matter of just, I'm just going to go to the grocery store. I need a couple things. Everything is planned. And I think the natural result is to be very strategic on when you go, and you have to overthink things almost. Mm-hmm. And so because of that isolation, the need for community is just expounded so much more. Yeah. And so we're a really great option.
Yeah, we are.
For community.
Absolutely.
There's others. There's several churches in Central Florida that are doing disability ministry really well. But I like what we're doing. And we do Bible studies every Monday nights and just so many options that we have that are diverse. Some are just fun. There's no serious element at all. Wednesday night or Wednesday afternoons with game time. Yeah. It's just meant to laugh together. And so, but finding that community with people that actually know you and they know your struggles is so crucial. And they're out there. They really are out there. And while we are an option, we're not the only option. We would love for people to be a part of our tribe.
Absolutely.
But find one that fits your personality and your family's needs. And even like on Facebook, like there's Facebook groups specifically for families with going through a disability. and just finding people that understand you and understand your struggle. I think that is the strongest testimony that we have at camp is, man, going to camp is so special. And these are from like parents.
Yeah.
Because I get to talk to other parents that know exactly what I'm going through. That's massive.
That's so good.
Yeah.
So just get involved. Link arms with somebody.
Yep.
And thanks, Ryan. Thanks
Yeah,
for
absolutely. Thank
encouraging
you,
us
Jim.
to do that. And if you're having a difficult time making some of those connections, call Ryan.
Yeah.
Or call me. Or
I'd
call
be happy
somebody
to.
here at the office. We'd love to help you connect a little bit. And you know, just I know that connecting with people can be hard. But we have virtual opportunities and we have face-to-face opportunities, and so we just want to get to know you.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
You. Absolutely. Well, it's been a great conversation.
Yeah, Jim. Thanks.
You're welcome.
It's not too weird, right?
No. God bless you guys.